Jeff Eisenman here with New Rochelle's own Butch Harmon. You mentioned Tiger. You started with him in 1993. Did he come to you, or did you come to him?
I think Tiger was 16 or 17 at the time, and it was in Houston where I was living at Champions, and he lost his second or third round match. His father called me and asked if he could bring him over to the club. I was director of golf, Lochinvar Golf Club in Houston. And I said, sure, I'd heard of him, but I'd never really seen him play. And that's kind of how we got started.
So you watch him play, and what's your first impression of this guy?
It was funny because I asked him various questions. I watched, you could see the natural ability, a beautiful swing. One question that I asked that I got the funniest answer, I said, okay, everybody has a stock shot that when the pressure's really on off the tee, they can tee it a little lower and trap it out of the heel and hit a little fade or hit a little shot with a right to left. What's your stock shot? And he said, you know, I just hit it as hard as I can and I go find it wherever it is. And I'm thinking, well, that's a little cocky, you know what? But the more I got to know him, that was how he played when he was younger. He just had so much raw, natural talent that you could see that, boy, if you could harness all of this talent and polish it up, it could be something special. As it turned out, he's probably the greatest player that's ever lived. Jack Nicklaus, I think, is the greatest champion. Tiger Woods is the best player I've ever seen.
And you mentioned his father, Earl. You know, so much documented about how he got Tiger started early. Why do you think he needed you to help adjust that?
I think he felt that he had taken Tiger a long way, and he liked the success I had had with other players. I never had a problem with Earl Woods. Earl and I were both Vietnam combat veterans, so we had that bond. We got along fine. I respected the fact that he was Tiger's dad, and he respected the fact that he wanted me to coach him, and that relationship worked pretty good.
And that took a lot of composure. What was the number one thing that you taught him outside of golf, just as a person?
Well, one of the things we did, especially leading up to the Masters, is I used to have him play practice rounds. Even when he won the amateur and he would play here as an amateur, I always had him play practice rounds. I arranged him to play with former champions, and I encouraged him, ask them questions about the golf course, about how they played these holes. And he knew who they all were, and they were so generous to him. The thing that I loved about him is he was like a sponge. He just soaked up information. He wanted to learn as much as he could. He used to go back and find all VHS tapes of it so he could watch the balls bounce on the greens and how did these players play it.
Of all those majors you won with him, which is the most memorable to you?
I'd have to say the first one in '97, and I'll tell you why. I used to tell him when he was a teenager, I said, you know, my dad, when he won the Masters in '48, he won by 5 shots. And he said it was the greatest feeling in the world walking up the 18th fairway with a 5-shot lead knowing that I can't lose. And I said, someday that's going to happen to you. And then as I stood behind the 18th green on Sunday in '97 with his mom and dad there, and I was standing back with his agent at the time, Hughes Norton, and it was fairly dark. I still had my sunglasses on because I had tears in my eyes. I said, wow, I knew he was going to walk up this fairway with a big lead. I didn't know it was going to be 12 shots.
You're working here with Mercedes tonight. You're here, you've worked with them before. Why does that partnership fit for you?
Well, I'm a Mercedes guy. I've bought Mercedes for the majority of my life. I own 2 Mercedes. I love the quality of their company and who they are. I have the opportunity to come and speak to their people tonight, which I did last year too, which is very nice. When you have a chance to work for the best in the business, and I think Mercedes makes the best vehicles in the world, it's an honor that I have a chance to be with them.
A legend, Butch Harmon, here on the postgame.